publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter. We are going to have a great show for you today, folks. Good morning to the entire world who receives our programming through the internet, formerly known as ARPANET, which was designed, developed by we the people. Who are we the people? You. Your tax dollars, your money, your intellect, not that of the billionaires, not that of those people who are simply parasitic in nature, the ones who create nothing but depend on you and then asks you to pay for everything else. You know, the Trumps of the world, you know, the ones who say, I can do it all, but in reality, someone else does it for them. You know, the ones who say, I'm a great business person, we can do all these great things. But again, continues with the legacy of bankruptcy. We have to get reality based. You know, one of the issues is that our news reporting by the mainstream media gives such a bad, it is really so bad that the impressions people have of reality, not the fault of them in the aggregate, but because of who they trust in media, creates issues. We'll talk about a lot of that, but before we get there, we've got to go to our geniuses in the studio, the people who really make things happen. Buenos dias. Good morning, my brothers.
Well, good morning, Egberto. Jack is stuck in his cranny over here, so I'm going to have to help him out.
Get me out of my cranny.
Help me, man. Help me. I'm in my
to
nook.
the nook.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you left out fraud, theft, and a bunch of other things.
Yes.
So in your description,
well, I think you'll do a good job of it.
Yeah, the interesting thing about it is it was brought up yesterday, both on your show and You Talk. Why are the middle income and lower income folks voting Republican? It's against their better interests. I mean, you said, oh, it's racism. It's this. No.
It's the economy.
It's being misled is what it is.
Yeah.
They're voting against their own best interests when they vote for the Republican Party.
But, you know, being misled, Howard, is racism is also being misled. I mean, was it yesterday that I think I covered, or I think it was on my 3 o'clock show. I don't remember which one it was that I covered. I think it was here, poverty and how people racialize those issues, and the magical thing that happens is whenever you do things like that, you vote against your interests because you think, I am voting for that for those people, not realizing you're in the same boat. So they're all together, you know, they're all kind of tied together. In fact, well, anyway, let me leave you with your words and go ahead.
Yeah, I would say yes and no. Poor whites are living with poor blacks, so they know who they are. They accept them for who they are. There's a lot of poor whites out there, very poor.
Yes.
You know, and they live with Hispanics, they live with the black folks, and they know who they are, and they know how to get along with each other. So I can't peg it as racism. I'm sorry, I can't go there.
That's cool. That's cool. We can talk. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Go ahead, my brother Jacques.
Yeah, you know, those younger black and white men are thinking more about the economy than they're thinking about living life. what it takes to live life. You can live life without a good economy. Doesn't have to be this great. Doesn't have to be record profits for corporations. Anyway, here we go. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother.
Okay, here we go. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. America stands at the edge of a cliff. Will America put a known psychopathic madman at the helm and drive us off the proverbial cliff? Or will the American voter pause and really take a look at the power the corporate state has over government and its citizens and really see we are standing at the cliff of authoritarian rule? Do we want to jump off or step back and realize how much we need democracy? One man, woman, one vote, or one man that votes for all.
I love that, Jack. I love that. And yes, we need to maintain democracy. I love that. I want to I want to get started because I'm going to tie that into what I'm going to talk about first, but I want to touch on a couple issues before I really get there. But Tag gave us an early call, and I have a soliloquy that I want to get done here. So before I start that, let me go ahead and bring Brother Tag into the fold, and then I'll go with my soliloquy. Brother Tag,
Good morning, Edberto.
good
Did you
morning, my
see
brother.
Did you see the breaking news yesterday about Terrorgram?
About who?
Terrorgram.
Oh no,
It's
tell me about it.
apparently, in California, the federal government, the DOJ, has brought charges against these two guys who was doing this Terrorgram chat, and they were working up terrorism, around the country, and actually it's linked worldwide. And the federal government come right out and said that these are white nationalists, right-wing nationalists sponsoring terror in this country, and they charged them. So I was glad to see them come out and tell it like it is.
No,
These
I
just
missed
aren't
that.
some
Yeah,
wackos.
I missed that storyline. I don't know how I missed that one, but I mean, it's not surprising, from since the Obama administration, they put out that report that was one of the greatest dangers to our country from a terrorist point of view. And the thing about it is they had to just about retract that document because the right wing went crazy, even though most of the terror that we have seen in the country since 9/11 has exactly been that, exactly as the Obama report pointed out. So, but I am glad you brought that to the fold, brother. Anything else, my dear Tag?
The part that bothers me is that you don't see left-wingers being terrorists normally. It's normally all coming from the right side. So
Yeah,
that's wrong. Oh,
yeah.
okay, thanks. I'll let you go. Have a good day.
Thank you, my brother. Thanks you for the call. Anyway, before I get started, I just want to show you how media works, right? We have Kamala Harris, who has worked in the DA's office in California for quite some time. She also worked as a DA in San Francisco for several years experience. She's also got elected several times, including being the Attorney General of California. So she has experience running, winning, and then also as U.S. Senator. So she altogether she amasses 30 something years of service and professional service in government in both local, state, and federal. Donald Trump came into power after running a business that was handed to him by his dad that he subsequently bankrupted 6 times, and that created a $1 billion fraudulent billion-dollar communications company, meaning Truth Social, that has no assets to speak of, that makes no money to speak of, but that is used to channel, or I should say, launder money to him and giving it sheer values of billions of dollars. Like I said, we have an economic fraud. Our, as Bernie would say, the economic system is based on fraud. And that is a clear example of Truth Social. But that is the extent of Trump's experience as a businessman. 6 bankruptcies and a 7th one that is sure to come. Okay? But there's going to be a debate today between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Do remember, Donald Trump has never, ever, ever won the popular vote. He has lost it by the first time 3 million people, the second time near 8 million people, 7 point something million people. That's his repertoire. That's his repertoire. Kamala has actually had a legal career. And how does CNN highlight this particular debate? This is a call line that they give. Harris faces a nowhere to hide moment in upcoming debate, and the price of failure is enormous. When Michelle Obama gave the speech on the convention floor, she spoke about the ability to fail forward. Fail, F-A-I-L, forward. If you want to understand, when we talk about privilege and double standards, etc., what we're speaking about, that is what we're speaking about. We're speaking about somebody who has failed forward over and over and over again. Somebody who has never ever won an election by popular vote in this country. And yet, the person that is accomplished, is defined as having nowhere to hide, where this debate somehow becomes an important stake on whether she wins or loses an election. Again, if the people that are listening to my voice at this point cannot see the definition of inherent privilege by someone that has accomplished little in life legally, that is a convicted felon, that is a convicted sexual, or that is found sexually liable for a woman, that has gone on to talk about grabbing women by their private parts, that have been sued and had to pay for a fraudulent university, that has done these things over and over again, failing forward. And he is and Kamala is the person that CNN says has nowhere to hide in the upcoming debate, and failure in this debate to an inarticulate person, to someone who cannot chain a sentence together. Anybody who is honest, moral, critically thinking, how can you look at that comparison, an objective comparison, and say that Kamala is the one who has something to prove? Shouldn't it be a convicted felon who has to show that even as I am a convicted felon, here is why you should vote for me? Isn't it the convicted, liable for rape person who is the one that should have to say, this is why I think even as I am a as I am liable for rape, you need to vote for me. How is the onus in America on Kamala facing somebody who has never won an election, somebody who has a criminal record, somebody who has bankrupted a company given to them? That is America. I mean, when I saw that headline this morning, it changed what I wanted to talk about today. So that is something I would like all of you who are voting, all of you who are thinking people, to think about. Because if for some unforeseen reason, I don't see it, I still think America is going to wake up. And America is going to say, my God, how could we possibly think? How could we possibly think that this should be a contest? We've woken up. We've seen the light. We are no longer going to let our prejudices reign. We're no longer going to allow these things to occur. But brothers and sisters, it is not, when one looks objectively, all we can talk around all these issues. The media talks around all these issues like this should be a contest. And it gives people a plausible reason to say, I am voting for this character because. Earlier, you heard our brother in the room say, well, I don't think it's racism and all these issues, etc., poor whites, poor blacks. We have tried to identify all issues that gives this. And when you take a look at what issues could possibly lead America into saying, well, when we weigh these two things together, what's different? What's different? I'm not done with this, but I got two calls, so let me go ahead and get to Harry and then Johnny. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Brother Alberto. Good morning, Magic Guy. Good morning, Howard. I listened to that show. I called in to Dr. John. There was a caller, Peyton. I remember Dr. John asked him about, they were talking about white people that cling to their guns and their Bible. And I have to push back on some of what Howard's saying. I can't go there with racism. Well, I can go there because I remember Alexander Pelosi did that piece when Barack Obama got elected, and there were a lot of people who were white who were upset, and these Make America Hate Again people are the right America feeling wrong people that Alexander Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's daughter, did. And I do remember seeing an interview that Obama did after he left office. He said there was a big backlash in this country when he became president because there were people uncomfortable who did not look like Obama, and they didn't want Obama enforcing policy on their lives and making decisions for everyone because they felt like he's not our president because he doesn't look like us. There are people uncomfortable. So racism does play a factor here. And Kamala Harris is experiencing that because of the color of her skin. That is some of it. It's not all of it, but some of it is because of the color of her skin. And there are people that just are not comfortable with her handling the economy and handling domestic policy and foreign policy because of what she looks like. That's just a fact of life. We live in a racist society. We have people that are racist. It's sad that they're that way, but it's like I was telling you yesterday. And, oh, by the way, I'm glad I mentioned that because the great James Earl Jones passed away. I'm sorry to hear. He lived a long life and and he had to overcome racism with a speech impediment situation. But I'm glad that I mentioned that about.
Harry, let me. I just give you 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes, but I want to interject. I want to interject and say, in the case of Kamala, it is both. It is sexism, it is racism, and it is patriarchy. I mean, there are a lot of,
you're right.
because Hillary Clinton was much more competent than Donald Trump as well. Now, do remember, she won the popular vote. It's just the undemocratic
I remember
nature of
that.
our country that actually had Donald Trump. Donald Trump has never won an election, ever, and that is what people have to
Yeah,
understand. It is
well, I
simply
know
what we
that.
come. And now, the second thing is when it comes to race, etc. I'm glad you brought up Pelosi's daughter because that is a good documentary to
Yeah,
see that if she went into the depths of poor, I think it was Alabama and Mississippi, if I recall
yeah.
correctly, and
They call them the
these
right America feeling wrong
right.
people
And the
at
thing
that
about it,
time. Yeah,
hold on, Harry, hold on. Let me finish.
what?
The important thing about that, right? And this is where I talk about uniting people. It is it's the cues that these people get from from the plutocracy that has them with the thinking process that they have. Okay. And that is the things that I say we would like to solve in programs like what we have, not the mainstream media, in programs like this. In other words, my
Yeah,
white brother and sister in Mississippi and Alabama, yes, it is racial, but it is racial not because he's a bad person. It is racial because he's an uneducated person, kept that way by his master who have laid out a false narrative for him. And it is incumbent on us, those of us in the know, it is incumbent on us not to just go ahead and say, hey, dude, you're a racist. That doesn't solve a problem. That doesn't solve a problem. What solves a problem is going to the core of why people believe what they believe and how do you undergird that. And that's where I come from. In other words, it's not enough to just say, oh my God, you're racist, you're nationalist, all that good stuff. I want to bring all those racists and those nationalists and those white supremacists into my fold. And I want to, because they were uneducated on purpose by an entire system. It is systemic and it came from the inception of our country. And we have to do things like
right.
understand where all of that began. But Harry, thank you so kindly for calling. I
And
got
we
to
got
go
to
to
try to
Johnny.
educate them, like you said there.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
Well, there you go again, Donald. Oh, yep. It was stolen. It was stolen. You need to learn how to steal it the way I do. You've got to earn it. You've got to violate the law. You just don't go erasing
All right, Chuck.
voter registration. How weak, Donald. You and Brian Kemp, you're both losers. I want to see Kamala Harris at one point, if the vibe feels right, break into a Ronald Reagan imitation and put him in his place in a comical way. Why? Because I feel cheated that Barack Obama did not act like Chris Rock his first 3 months in office. Instead, he went kissy. The Republicans, that don't work for me. And it doesn't work for America. We want some comedy, and we want some aggression, and we want some progressiveness, all mixed together in a nice soup. That's what we want. Put Donald in his place, lady. You can do it, so do it.
Yeah, you know what? It's so interesting because I agree with you that, yeah, you need to put Donald in its place and all that sort of stuff, right? But again, going back to something that to that brother that Harry implied, when she goes out there, she has so I tell you what, I'm interviewing Pastor my John Pavlovich after the show today. And John Pavlovich is a pastor. I think it was a mega church in North Carolina. He was a pastor of, and he left the church because he couldn't stand he could no longer accept that the church had gone full MAGA, became a pretty much racist church. And this is a white pastor, and he wrote several books, several articles, and I called him up. He wrote an article that really a Substack that really touched me, and I told him, hey man, I really want to talk to you. I interviewed him a few years ago, but I really wanted to talk to him on this particular issue. And it's the same, he acknowledges the same kind of things that we're talking about right here. And one of the issues is that it would be nice if Kamala could just go out there and point out all the things that I just said. How can she be up against a thug and the polls are tied? Doesn't make any sense, right? But there's so many things that she has to be like. I told the pastor, I looked at him and I said, with the work that I do, whenever I go into certain communities, like and look, I talk to Mag, I talk to everybody. I mean, there are times I go to conferences, I'll hit any group. But when I'm standing in front of a white group, a group that is predominantly white, the first thing that I have to get across is them seeing what I look like. And people may not want to acknowledge that or accept that or whatever. But I know when I walk into certain spaces what I have to do, right? I have to first get people comfortable before they start listening to my voice. Okay? And I do that. I mean, it's a burden. And what I was explaining to my friend is I said, there's one burden that you have with your voice, why it's going to be so important in this election season, is that I first have to get over certain hurdles that you don't. So you and I carrying the same message. You can get across faster. You can introduce me. Go ahead, Johnny. Johnny, go ahead. I heard you come in. Okay. I'll wait to see if you get your phone back together. We lost Johnny. But anyhow, so there are those issues that have to get in front. So I'm segueing that in to say that Harris, for progressive women, for most women, it would be easy for Harris to really hit Trump very hard as someone that is much more intellectual than Trump, as someone that is much more intelligent than Trump, as someone that is much more experienced than Trump. She could put that out there easily. But as soon as she does that, she's going to be hit as an angry woman. She's going to be hit for a whole lot of other issues, that has nothing to do with her having embarrassed Trump for the inept person that he is. So she can't go out there and do that, while a man could have gone out there and just nailed him. She can't do that because there's so many things that she has to get across first. Okay, Johnny, I see you're back. It seemed like you had fallen off. And it is a shame, but it's a truth. Go ahead, Johnny.
I would suggest that you carry a Ronald Reagan mask with you, and when the vibe feels right, you put it on and you break into you. Well, here we go again. It's great. And I think she could pull it off. Why? Because I said so. I want it so much.
I know you want it, but she can't do it. A lot of us know that is what she can do. She has the intellect to do it, and he has none. But she can't do it because, she has to keep a certain measured approach. I mean, those of us who live in this skin understand that until we change society, there are certain games we have to play. Okay, and look at Tariq Hill. Look at what happened with him and the cops. And here's the thing. Notice I said what happened with him and the cops. Tariq Hill, do you think if it were a white businessman driving that expensive car, those Latino cops, and I say Latino cops, it could have been Latino cops, it could have been black cops, it could have been white cops. That white businessman driving a car like him would never ever have gotten the treatment that Tariq got yesterday. Now, the funny thing about it is what happened yesterday is so bad. People don't look at the big picture of what happened with Tariq Hill yesterday. You had immigrant cops pull out a black dude out of an expensive car, speak to him with disrespect, treat him with disrespect, treated him with like an animal for having the nerve to question that cop. What has that immigrant from a Latin American country learned in America? That there are certain people that deserve no respect. And when you hear Jacob, who calls into this show frequently, and he talks about, well, Kamala is Kamala from immigrant beginnings and not sharing the burdens that I share. I can immediately, and I'm an immigrant. I'm a Latino immigrant myself, Black, Latino, Caribbean, West Indian immigrant. I can immediately empathize with Jacob when he says, look, all these other people come into this country. They learn how I can be treated. And right then and there, I get the same treatment. The Korean comes into the black neighborhood and treats me like crap as he opens stores in my neighborhood. The Nigerian comes into my neighborhood and does the same thing. Right? So what I'm saying is the dynamics is so it's not really complex. It is just there to show people the gradation of worth in this country that we need to solve. Johnny, come on in before I jump to tariffs.
Okay, who was the comedian, not the Wayans brothers, but it's another black comedian who was up on stage with Barack Obama, and he played the other Barack Obama that we wanted to have.
Yeah, that was at the journalist convention. Yeah, yes.
We'd like to see an actor for hire to accompany Kamala on stage, and I don't care if all the Republicans in the media cry and fill their diapers with boo. Where they broke the rules, screw them. We're going to do it our way. That's what I'd like to see. That's my fantasy. If I were campaign manager, you'd see a whole bunch of comedy going on. That's what I got to say. Bye-bye.
Thank you, brother. I remember I felt real bad about this. I had that attitude that I was going to take no BS from anybody for absolutely nothing. In fact, I went through my corporate career that way, and that's the reason I left after 5 years. I just wasn't going to take it anymore, so I did it all on my own. But I remember an argument that I had with my dad that I sort of regretted, but I'm glad that we could actually get across that. And I'm going to change to the tariff story in a little bit, but I want to tell this quick story. I came here to America, and at the University of Texas, after we would march for forcing the University of Texas to divest its money from South Africa because of the apartheid system, and we would march on campus. And I was in this group called the South African Liberation Action Committee, and that group, actually, it's a mostly white community, it's a mostly white university, but that is what we were fighting for. We were fighting for that. And I remember once my father came to visit me in Austin. And by the way, I paid most of my schooling by working my butt off at a pizza shop, security guard, washing dishes, sweeping floors, all that kind of stuff. But he did help me as well with a little stipend. And I remember I was doing my protest in between working and going to school for the divestiture. And my father and I got into a bad argument. And, he's like, I didn't send you here to the United States to protest and all of that. I sent you to get an education and to be the best that you could. And I really got upset. And I'm like, and the problem is, back in Panama, when the Americans control something called the Canal Zone. And Panamanians revered getting a job on the Canal Zone because it paid a lot more than the payments in the Republic. But still, and by the way, my ancestors built the damn canal. All right. But again, it paid more if you worked in the canal than if you worked outside in the Panamanian stuff. So as soon as you could get a job on the Canal Zone, those people who lived in Colon or Panama or Rio Abajo or wherever, they'll try to get a job with the Americans in the canal. But they treated Panamanians like crap. That is the Americans who ran the canal treated Panamanians like crap, like slaves, like crap. But they paid them well compared to the city, but they treated them like crap. And we all knew it. We all knew it. And I remember when my dad said to me, I sent you here not to protest, but to study. I flashed back at him and I said, but you know what? If you guys didn't take all the crap those Americans gave you, then I wouldn't have to be protesting this sort of stuff. I was wrong. Okay. My father looked at me straight in the eye and he said, and if I had done that, you wouldn't be here today because I would either be dead or you wouldn't have had the wherewithal to come to the United States and get that education. And even when he said that, I was still pissed. I am protesting to make a better world. I'm protesting to get this stuff out of South Africa. How dare you tell me that? You should have done your job in Panama when they were treating Panamanians like that on the canal zone. We built the damn canal and we allowed them to treat us like that. And as I grew up and I had my own family, I understood then exactly what he was talking about. Because I didn't re-engage. After being in corporate America for several years, after forming my own business and having a business that did very well for a long time, I blogged. I still stayed political, but I was political anonymously. I blogged anonymously. I wrote articles anonymously because my daughter was in Kingwood High School, Kingwood Middle School, started in Kingwood Elementary, Kingwood Middle, Kingwood High, and I didn't want the stigma of her dad doing this political stuff to affect her. I understood then. And these are burdens that many of us have to have in a society that isn't equal, in a society that isn't equitable, in a society where you have to learn to play games to survive, even though many may not understand that. So Kamala tonight, Kamala can't go out there and really show her intellect. Kamala can't go out there and be the smart woman that she is. Kamala has to take, when she goes on that stage tonight, she has the most important task, and that is not to offend those who will vote for her because they think she's better than Trump, but she doesn't really expose Trump for who he is because it may affect others. That's a hell of a task to do. Hillary Clinton had to do somewhat the same as well. Those are the dynamics of a society, a patriarchal society. Those are dynamics of a racialized society that we don't talk about too often, but we all have to live it. You know, as a professional person who does all kind of stuff, you still have to live within those boundaries until those boundaries are broken. And people say, going back to Tariq Hill being pulled out of the car, people say, well, all he had to do is do exactly as the officer told him to do, which is true. But you know what I love about Gen Z? Gen Z reminds me of me when I had that argument with my dad. But if I had that argument with my dad so many decades ago, and I am having, and Kamala is having to, and brother Tyreek is having to do the same things, just maybe, not that Kamala shouldn't kind of placate a bit, but just maybe we need to allow Tariq to be Tariq, protect him, those of us who can, but understand that until things change, they haven't changed. Until things change, they haven't changed. Come on in, Chris.
Oh, Egberto, I listen to your show most every morning, and I would probably consider myself politically a rhino. So,
All right.
but check that out. I know this debate. You brought up some really great points. I appreciate that. That I really wouldn't have thought of that the obstacles that Kamala is going to face in this debate. But something that kind of baffled me a little bit when former President Trump is the assassination attempt on him. Apparently, two other people died. Right? Do you
Yeah, two
recall?
people that he shot died. Yeah.
Yeah. Did Trump ever thank those people's families? Did he ever make an acknowledgement of what the
Yes.
sacrifice those people gave?
Yes, he did.
Did he do that already?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He actually, I think he brought them on, if I recall correctly, at the Republican convention, he brought them onto the stage. But that's all. It was a showmanship to see how much leg he could get
Yeah.
off the attempt. But it's so right for you to bring up that imagine we had an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate. Two people died, and it's so far out of the news. It's amazing. I mean, that you brought that up is important.
Yes. Well, I'm just going to say good luck to Kamala tonight, and I hope she does well. But
Well,
thank
let
you
me
for
just say
bringing
something,
the point.
Mr. Rhino.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this, Mr. Chris Rhino. I'm teasing you now. You play an important role. Okay. First of all, let me ask you this: are you a white guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You play a very important role. You are a part of what I call the permission structure because you have a lot of people to go out there and help see the light. You do. You are the permission structure. So just thought I might let you know that, brother.
All right. Well, I
Peace.
appreciate that. And last but not least, I think you're doing a great job. You bring a lot of sense to what's going on. I appreciate that.
Thank you, my brother, and I appreciate you. I appreciate that statement as well. Let's go to brother Donald. Come on in, my brother Donaldo.
Hey, good morning, Alberto. How are you today? Tonight's the
I
election
am
or the debate.
debate. I am doing fine, especially since
Yes,
I'm
sir.
hearing from the friendliest MAGA I know. Talk to me, brother.
Well, if she would go out there and speak her heart and quit listening to all the people that are telling her what to do and do what she does in the courtroom or wherever else and admit to some of the failures of the past Democrat 3 or 4 years, she could win this. It's that easy. You don't have to sit
I
there and paint Trump in a bad light. It's just you
y-
got to come out and tell the truth and what she's going to do to help people and how she's going to do it and put
you know,
factual information up there. Oh, go ahead.
I wish that were true, and because you have the right heart, you know. You have the right heart where that works. You remember what I said earlier on? I said there before you there's a wall in front of everybody, right? When you're speaking, there's a wall. And the first thing that everybody has to do is break that wall in front of them so that people start listening. Her wall is a bit thicker than Donald Trump's wall. That's all I got to say. Think about it.
Hey, do you know how to do it? Here's the church, here's the steeple, open the door, and here's all the people with your hands?
I love that. You sound like a preacher,
Do
man.
that. Do that to the preacher today and say, look, these are a little pink, and, they're different color, but it's the same concept. But there's two of
Amen.
them in there that can offend you. It's your choice to use them, and that'd be the two middle fingers. So it's your
Hey,
choice to use it in the church. Just
hey,
do
brother.
that. Just do
Don't
it.
let.
See what kind of response you get.
All right. Don't let me break out
Hey,
into gospel singing, brother. Have a great day, sir. All right. Let's go to brother Bard. Come on, brother Bard. Come on in.
Yes, sir. Good morning. This guy, Tyreek Hill, I saw the video this morning, and he was going 103 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone. And
Okay.
then he wouldn't roll down the window. He would not roll
Okay.
down the window, or he would not fly. There's
Okay.
police officers getting shot every week, And there was one shot here last week that's dead. What do you expect these cops to do? If I was a cop, I would have tased this guy and I would have knocked him in the back of the head with a billy club. So he got off really light, if you ask me.
Okay, I know that's how you see it. I know that's how, it's amazing how people see an incident, and based on who they are, they see it differently. Now, let me tell you, I am no police hater, but I want to have nothing to do with the police officers. I don't hate police. In fact, let me see, what time is it? I got a minute and a half to tell my story, and I've told those who listen to the show regularly should know this story. I was when KPFT was at Lovett Avenue, at Lovett Boulevard. Okay, can you hear me? All right. When KPFT was at Lovett Boulevard, I was going there at night to.
What do you expect them to do?
Okay, can you hear me or not, Bard?
All right, I'll let you go. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I think somehow we dropped Bard. But I'll tell that story another time. Let me just jump to Derek. Come on in, Derek.
Hey, good morning. You said, I think you hit it on the nail when you said that when people are looking at Kamala Harris, racism and sexism is definitely on the menu. And be honest with you, Roberto, the names that people are calling Donald Trump, some person called him Teflon Don. It's just as though by throwing those jabs, it ain't even affecting him. And the reason why it's not really affecting him is because don't you know that a lot of the things that the people are calling Donald Trump exist in the American public itself? He's a native son. He don't care nothing about that, and it's unfortunate that others don't as well. So I really think, man, it's going to take another different approach when it comes to that, because it's as though, man, it's not affecting him, and nobody's really bothered about that. What do you think on that?
Well, actually, I think I've said that before. I mean, and I said, and by the way, I'll answer that real quick. Eric, welcome aboard, Eric, in the chat. Paul Fleming in the chat. Let's see who else I'm missing in the chat. Big conversation going on there. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain in the chat. Let's see. Anyway, here's the answer to that. The truth of the matter is Trump, and this is what I have a lot of MAGA listeners at 3:00 on my show. And this is what I tell them. I said, you have a daughter and you have a son. You try to teach your son and your daughter values. You would tell your daughter, if a man has a proclivity to rape you, to stay away from that person. That's what you would tell your daughter. I know I tell my daughter that. I would tell my son that you should honor women. You shouldn't talk about women's parts. You shouldn't talk about abusing women. In fact, you should not abuse women, period. You have to be ethical with women. Right. I teach all of my children, stealing is wrong. Taking advantage of people is wrong. Lying to people is wrong. I tell my kid, I have a daughter, I tell her all those things. She knows what kind of a guy she can get and to bring home. There are certain guys that will not be allowed in this home. Okay? And to be blunt, Donald Trump would not be allowed in my garage. He would not be allowed in my driveway because he's an unethical rapist thief. Okay? He would not be allowed anywhere around here. Now, all those people that are voting for Donald Trump, they are telling their daughters, they're telling their sons, it is okay for you to abuse women, to treat them like property, like a piece of meat. They're telling their daughters that there's no penalty if a guy that you're with rape you, because, you know, he could still be the president of the United States. And to think that the psyche of Americans can be such that that is somebody they're willing to put into office, it speaks more about them than it speaks about Donald Trump. It speaks because Donald Trump is the evil person that he is. No, but it's only one person. The man got over 70 million Americans to vote for him.
That's my
Now,
point.
they
Yes,
don't
sir.
have an excuse now. Look, we could say, brother Derek, we could say that maybe they didn't quite know if these things were true or not then in 2016 or in 2020. Now he has been convicted. The data is out there for them to see if they choose to look at it. That these are not trumped up charges, these are real. They have the data now. And if they put him back in office, we've all, I mean, we've lost our moral integrity. Not that we haven't partially
We
done it
lost that.
already, but we've lost it.
Yeah.
It's not like we had to recover from all the ills that we did as a nation. We had to recover from having been, we recovered from being created genocide on our native people. We've atoned, or we're attempting to atone for slavery. We're attempting to atone for sexism, where we've mistreated women for decades, for not for since our inception. We're trying to atone for all the negatives that we have had as a country, and then we go ahead and elect a Donald Trump. Come on.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I mean,
that was my point, brother. Thank you.
our
Thank you.
word,
Thank you.
our, sir, our word is the following, and this goes to everybody that's hearing my voice. Everybody can make a difference. There's something called geometric progression, exponential analysis, right? If everybody talks to others and tell them and appeal to their not just their humanity but their morals, we will finally start electing the kind of people we need to elect. But we have to get there. Thank you, brother Derek.
All right, thank you.
Let's go to Brian. Come on in, brother Brian.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing?
We're doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
Okay, free market capitalism. You get to choose your own value, your own worth. Whatever you want to do, you can make it happen based on your effort, not someone else's effort. Okay? You increase your net worth by dedication to what you're doing. It's not about sex or culture or racism. Let's not have a complaint about I can't do it because of the color of my skin or my gender. It's free. You can do whatever you want. Okay? Do you agree with this?
In a pure society, I agree with that, but I want to change the word that you use from capitalism to free enterprise. And we really need to get the definition of capitalism down, because a lot of people use capitalism interchangeably with free enterprise and democracy. They're not. But we can talk about that another time. Let me answer your other question as far as gender and race. That would be true if a woman back in the 50s and 60s could have gone into the bank and get the same loan her husband could have gotten to form a business. That wasn't true. That was a structural problem that prevented her from attaining the same worth that her husband could attain. The same applies to black people or Latinos who could not get the same loan as a white guy who goes into the bank to get a loan. Now, let me tell you this on a personal basis now. I have formed over 5 different companies in my lifetime, okay? And the one that gave me the more angst, and I wrote about that in my book. I have a book called Tribulations of a Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. I formed several companies, and the tribulations that I went through with the company, I told a story in the book where I had a good buddy, good friend of mine who is a white guy. The two of us needed $40,000 back in the 80s. All right. I was forming a software company. He was forming a company selling cards, in those days, it was long distance cards. We both went to the same bank.
Okay, that's the
I went
difference
to,
right there. That's the
no,
difference
hold,
right
no,
there.
no, sir. Let me finish, please. We go to
Back
the
in the
bank.
80s,
Or
correct?
yes, sir. We went to the bank.
Okay.
I go into the I go into the bank. The first thing the vice president, who is the one who do the loan thing, says is, "Do you have any collateral?" I said, "I'm trying to form a business, man. My collateral is my resume, etc., etc." They laughed me out of the bank. He said, "You can fill it out, but it's to no use." My buddy goes into the bank. He gets tea. They sat him down. They brought him into the office. They told him how to fill it out. They even gave him techniques on how to fill it out, given that he had no collateral. He got the $40,000. I didn't. Several years later, after my business was successful, built on $100,000 worth of credit cards at over 20% interest, I went to the same bank. I didn't need the money then. And I said, "I want $40,000. This is my resume. All of this, I put it through. When will I be getting my loan?" And they looked at me like they thought, "Who the hell do you think you are to come into this bank like that?" And I laid the paperwork down. They had to give it to me. Otherwise, you know what. So what I'm trying to tell you, my brother, is it's not as what you said in a pure society should work. In the real society, it does not. And I have experience with it, sir.
So you're a victim, right? You're a victim.
No, I'm not.
Someone
Did I ever call myself a victim? I superseded the victimization. No, I'm not a victim. I'm never a victim. I don't victimize myself, and I try to teach that to everybody as well. Beat the system. That's what it's all about. But I gotta get out of here, my brother. I appreciate your call, and by the way, I like the subject that you brought up. We must talk about some things like that more often, brother. All right?
You wrote a book that made money from capitalism, right?
No, to make money from free. No, sir. Free enterprise, sir. Free, not capitalism. Free enterprise, not capitalism. Free enterprise. All right, gotta go. Gotta go. Studio, come on in.
Oh, nothing here. Have a good day and go Kamala. Jack, what you got?
All right. Anyway,
remember,
Jack.
Everybody get out and get registered and vote. You got about 25 more days to get registered.
Wow, thank you for reminding us about that again, Jack. Love all of you guys, listeners, callers, everybody. I mean that from the depths of my heart. Remember, the entire show is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people.